everyone. How are you? This is Luna Ora. And as usual, we will have a very intense topic today, as always. And today we're going to talk about a very interesting subject for me. I always talk about this subject throughout my years of teaching sex magic and sacred sexuality. I have always spoken about the dark forces of the world because it's all connected. We cannot actually have a true sacred union if we do not practice light magic and return to the light and our true divine power. And we cannot do that if we don't understand the black magic and the dark forces and how they affect us, whether we like it or not. Because magic affects you every single day, whether you like it or not. And so part of the way to take our power back is to understand the so-called enemy and the dark forces and how they work. And so today I want to talk about what if evil spreads like a virus. So in this lecture, we're going to explore how dark forces infect the human mind and what if evil spreads in a way that is actually similar to a virus. So think about it for a moment. So a virus cannot survive on its own, okay? It needs a host. It enters a body, it hijacks the system, and then it uses that host to spread itself to others. Now, imagine something similar happening in the human mind. So what if some destructive forces in the world operate in a similar way? Not biologically, but psychologically or spiritually. And also, there is a level of biological warfare, which is happening through our food and the drug industry and the VACIN, the word I cannot say here on YouTube, the shots, okay? So what if darkness spreads through human beings like a kind of a psychic virus? This idea might sound unusual, but when you start looking at history and human behavior, it actually explains a lot. Especially for those of us who can see the patterns, who can see how very quickly you can activate a specific idea or a program within the masses of humanity, the zombies, the way I call them. Because you can't really, some of us are awake and some of us cannot be activated by the dark forces, but the zombies are very easily activated within a day. And we've seen it after COVID, we've seen it after October 7, and we're going to keep seeing it in a few different waves in the future. So for the part one, I want to talk about the parallels between virus and the psyche. So there are striking structural similarities between how viruses operate in the body and how destructive patterns operate in the human mind. So here are the 7 most revealing ones. Number 1, parasite on a host. A virus cannot live independently. It must enter a host and use its cells to survive and reproduce. Destructive forces like addiction, manipulation, abusive ideologies, lies, require people to carry and spread them. They feed on human energy and attention. Now, number 2 is replication through transmission. Viruses spread by infecting one host and migrating to another, replicating with each contact. Harmful patterns spread through trauma cycles, propaganda, hatred, and learned abusive behavior. In psychology, this is sometimes called mimetic transmission. Number 3 is hijacking the host system. Once inside a cell, a virus hijacks its machinery to produce more viruses, overriding the cell's original purpose, just like the dark. Harmful influences distort perception and thinking, causing people to act in service of the destructive patterns rather than their own well-being. This is how the dark forces kind of make humans act against their well-being and other well-beings. This is the mechanism behind cult control and extremist radicalization, like we see now in the pro-Palestinian movement, and we saw after COVID, all the people who went against everyone who didn't want to take the shot, blah, blah, blah. And we've seen it in history many times. I mean, we should only go back to to World War II and the way it started. So number 4 is stealth and camouflage. Viruses often evade the immune system by hiding inside cells or mutating their surface proteins. Destructive dynamics, dark forces, disguise themselves as something beautiful, like love and truth and freedom and authority and spiritual awakening and all these words. And this camouflage is precisely what makes them so difficult to recognize and resist, because they pretend to be something that they're not. Just by the way, like, you know, a lot of us talk today about narcissism, and this is the dark forces, these viruses, they have a narcissistic behavior, and they will put any mask that they need to get to you, to get your consciousness, to get you hooked, and then they'll show their true faces eventually. And by the time you see their true face, they're already sucked your life force and used you completely for what they need. Number 5 is vulnerability on the weakened host. So people with compromised immune systems, and I'm talking physically and spiritually weak people, that are spiritually, emotionally weak people, are far more susceptible to infection and severe illnesses. And this is why I always speak about you have to stop eating animals. It makes your body, your soul, your spirit, and your emotions the most weak possible. So no animal products, no alcohol. It will weaken you the most. Individuals who are isolated, traumatized, or desperate for belonging are more susceptible to manipulation and harmful belief systems. Emotional pain is the open wound through which darkness enters. Any trauma, any emotional pain, any fear, and of course, if your immune system physically is weak and lowered. Because that really affects your frequency. You eat animal products, you take specific drugs, you drink alcohol, your immune system will be weak. Your frequency and your aura will be very, very weak. So you'll have all these holes, so to speak, and open doors for any demonic entity to just enter. You're basically saying, come in, you know. Number 6, spread through networks. So viruses spread through contact networks. The denser the network, the faster and wider the spread. Ideas and destructive behaviors spread through communities, media, social groups, and online networks. This is not the line, sorry. Accelerated by algorithmic amplification, and the human hunger for belonging. Because that's just, they kind of work on the core need for humans to feel like they belong to a group. Number 7 is immunity through awareness. So the body builds immunity through exposure, antibodies, and trained immune response. Protection comes from critical thinking, spiritual protection, right? Comes from critical thinking, emotional healing, self-awareness, community support, and education. And these form a kind of psychological immune system. And if we don't have that, if we don't have a strong, healthy, that's the key word, mature, conscious bonds, we are not protected. Now, I want to talk about the psychic virus. This is what I call the psychic virus. There is a phenomenon that I like to call the psychic virus. It's not a biological infection, but it's a pattern that migrates from mind to mind, spreading through the invisible medium of human consciousness. Consider how quickly hatred can sweep through a society. We've seen it overnight, in a second, it can do that. Or fear or violent ideology. One person comes to believe something destructive, and then with terrifying speed, like actually terrifying, thousands or millions begin thinking the same way. History is littered with these examples, and these contagious. So when that happens, people ask, how could so many fall into the same darkness at once and so deeply, like truly fall into it and believe with every part of their being and give their life to it because they believe it so much even. But perhaps the more useful question is, how did the darkness spread so efficiently? And again, this is why it is so vital we understand dark forces, we understand black magic and demonic energies and how they work, because then we can master that power and not have them influence us and stay free and stay sovereign. Violence propagates. Hatred replicates. Dehumanized beliefs normalize themselves through repetition. One person adopts the belief, then others echo it until cruelty becomes invisible, like we see right now again with the PP people, pro-Palestinian people, simply the way things are. Some spiritual traditions have described something very similar for centuries. They speak of destructive influences that behave like parasites, and I speak about this a lot. I've been thinking about these parasites for years, attaching to human consciousness and drawing like their life force from fear, anger, resentment, and division. Whether we interpret this literally or metaphorically, the structural pattern is identical to a virus. It needs a host, it spreads through contact, and it grows stronger the less we are aware of it. That's why we have to be aware, people. We have to be purified, body, mind, heart, and soul, and we have to be absolutely aware of all our inner shadows and demons and the external ones. Now, the entry point is almost always emotional. Deep pain, humiliation, or insecurity makes people vulnerable to ideas that promise power, revenge, or simple explanations for suffering. Once those ideas take hold, they alter the perception fundamentally. Compassion disappears, and we see this. Like those of us with the eyes to see, it's insane to see how in a second a human loses their compassion. Empathy disappears, and suddenly harmful behavior begins to feel not only justified, but righteous. And we see it again with this movement now that's rising after October 7. They actually feel like they're the righteous ones, and they're the most violent, and they're the ones who are, and that's why we call them useful idiots, because they're actually supporting the dark forces and helping them take over more of humanity. It is, I don't even have words for it. I've done a lot of videos about this since October 7, and a few of my videos were taken down, by the way, because I wonder why. So viruses don't just affect individuals. They move through networks. Once many hosts are infected, the contagion is no longer contained to one person. It flows through the entire system. The same thing happens with destructive ideas. When people become influenced by the same dark beliefs or emotions, they begin to reinforce one another. Their thinking synchronizes. They repeat the same narrative, react the same way, amplify each other's fear and rage. The system feeds itself. That's why I call it the hive mind, which we'll discuss a little bit later. This is why entire groups, sometimes entire societies, can descend into irrational, destructive behavior simultaneously. The infection has moved from individual minds into the collective minds. And once embedded there, it becomes far more powerful because every infected host is actively strengthening the pattern in every other host. So now I want to talk about Carl Jung a bit. So Carl Jung, one of the I love Carl Jung. I speak about them all the time. One of the 20th century most influential psychologists, describes something remarkably similar through his concept of the shadow. The shadow is the part of ourselves that harbors anger, cruelty, jealousy, and destructive impulses. Jung believed that when people refuse to confront their own shadow, it doesn't dissolve. It grows in the unconscious, gathering power until it can take control. And I've done, again, many videos about this. My latest video too, I spoke about if you don't face your shadow, they're going to eat your children alive. You can watch that too. So in extreme situation, he observed this process can occur collectively. Entire societies can become, in his word, possessed by these dark energies. Again, I've been talking about this for years, guys. Jung described this as something approaching the contagion of evil. The moment when society's collective shadow, unacknowledged and unexamined, begins to spread through its members like an infection agent. One person's unprocessed rage becomes a crowd's fury. One leader's paranoia becomes a nation's persecution. The shadow infects the group mind. And again, we've seen this in our history time and time again. We live in a moment when ideas travel faster than any point in human history. Social media, algorithmic news feeds, online communities, information now spreads at the speed of electricity. But fear and anger almost always outpace truth, wisdom, and compassion in these systems, unfortunately, because they provoke stronger and faster reactions. And you have to actually think for yourself. This is why it sometimes feels as though there is a kind of a hidden war behind, fought for the human mind. And I said this for years. Third World War, which we are in right now, is a war on consciousness, is a war on the human psyche, the human mind, and especially the human spirit. So this is a struggle over what people believe, what they fear, how they see themselves and each other. When destructive patterns dominate that space, they can shape the thinking of millions within hours. It is insane. The psychic virus has never had a more efficient vector than today. Now, what is the antidote? Let's speak about the antidote. If darkness can spread like a virus, then protection works like an immune system. So, and immunity here is built from, again, awareness and also purification of body. It's number one, you have to purify the body. You can do all the spiritual work, but if you don't purify your body, nothing works. So, self-reflection, critical thinking, guys, something many people have lost today. The willingness to examine our own shadow and face them fully without flinching. When people become truly conscious of these patterns in themselves, in their communities, in our leaders, then in the information we consume, also, we stop spreading them unconsciously. We stop being tools for demonic forces. Instead of transmitting fear or hatred or lies, we begin to transmitting something else like clarity, truth, responsibility, maturity, awareness, true connection. And that is precisely how the cycle of darkness is broken, not through force, but through light, not through war, but through waking the fuck up. Consciousness interrupts the infection, one aware mind at a time. And it starts with you. You be the one to wake up. It's like Neo in the Matrix. You have to choose consciously to wake up. No one else is going to do it for you. People like me here, like for example, I am one person out of many giving you a pill. You can take it or leave it, but no one can wake you up. You have to wake yourself up and you have to choose it consciously. You have to choose truth because truth equals light. Light equals truth. We cannot have light and love without truth. Love is bullshit without truth. And so that's why this war of the demonic forces, that's why their main weapon is lies and manipulation of the truth. So that's it for today. I love you so much. My name is Luna Ora. I am a sex priestess and a psychedelic witch. You can check out my website, Mother is Rising, the Sex Magic School of Isis and Lilith. I have many books, incredible books that I promise will change your life. And if you haven't checked out my books yet, what are you waiting for? Seriously. I do medicine ceremonies. There are only a few that I open every year. I think there's 4 more left for 2026, private medicine ceremonies with me. This is not a regular medicine ceremony. What I do is kind of insane. You have to book an interview if you want to work with me, if you want to do any of the God-Men program, which I work one-on-one with men to truly, truly become and embody their true divine masculine. I work with you on mastering your sexual energy, semen retention, and etc. And the Sex Priestess initiation, where it's a nine-month program. You can take it 3 months at a time, and it's also very powerful. For all of these, you have to book an interview with me on my website, and then we'll see if this is a compatible path for you. So again, motherisrising.com. I love you so much. I am a priestess of the temple, and I will keep speaking the truth and praying for the awakening of men and women on planet Earth. Thank you so much. Please subscribe, like, and share. so I can continue making these videos and share the work of the temple. And may the goddess bless you all.